Kevin Wilshaw was a white nationalist leader. In fact, he was an organizer for the National Front since the 1980s. However, very recently, I'm talking about this year, he decided to denounce Nazis and come out as gay. Turns out that his mom was also Jewish.
Drums.
Okay, let's take a look at this gentleman. There's Kevin Wilshaw right there. And as recently as January, he was preaching hate, but he has come to a different conclusion. He's had a change of heart, and here's what he has to say. By the way, this is an individual in the UK. So the UK is also grappling with similar themes that we have here in the United States. He said, on one or two occasions in the recent past, I've actually been the recipient of the very hatred of the people I want to belong to. If you're gay, it is acceptable in society, but with these groups of people, it's not acceptable. And I found on one or two occasions when I was suspected of being gay, I was subjected to abuse. Well, congratulations, I'm glad you came to that conclusion. He also says, and I'm glad he realizes this. It's a terribly selfish thing to say, but it's true. I saw people being abused, shouted at, spat out in the street. It's not until it's directed at you that you suddenly realize that what you're doing is wrong.
No, Kevin, for the rest of us, it doesn't take it happening to us for us to empathize with other human beings. If I see someone being spit on or attacked in the street, my instinct is to go help them. Your instinct was to take part in that. And only, I mean, how old are you? Jesus Christ, after being a neo-Nazi for decade after decade after decade, you finally realize, oh my God, what if it happens to me? That hurts my feelings. Really? Wow, thank you for figuring that out, Sherlock Holmes. And so, yeah. I have almost no sympathy for this guy at all. Why I love this story is because what I always tell you guys, these guys have deep-seated problems. So they're not neo-Nazis in this day and age because they're mentally healthy and they have a good self-identity. No, usually it is something that they loathe about themselves. And so, you know, the fact that he was partly Jewish obviously was an issue for him for whatever insane reason, but probably the fact that he was gay wasn't a bigger issue. And he points out, it turns out at National Front, there's a lot of gay leaders. To which I say, of course, it's not. Look, part of me doesn't like talking about that because I feel like there's such a disgrace to other members of the LGBT community, but almost no one does more damage than closeted gays. You know, you hear Roy Cohn in America, J. Edgar Hoover in America, and the list goes on, and they target other gays most of all, because it's something they hate about themselves.
It's not only is it something that they hate about themselves, I think that they're so obsessed with hiding that secret about their identity that they lash out at other gays and in a way to kind of like cover for themselves, right? But in reality, like the more I see people like this lashing out at specific communities, the more I question them. And that's not to say that, you know, all people who are filled with this type of hatred are gay. That's crazy, right. And that's not what we're trying to say. But it is fascinating to hear this from him, and it is fascinating to get some insight into these groups by what he's saying, because he also talks about how, yes, there are other members of the National Front who are gay, and they're openly gay, but there's a hierarchy in that type of group, and the higher you are in that hierarchy, the more likely it is that people will make excuses for you if you do happen to be gay. Or they'll say things like, oh, but he's not really gay, right?
Or they'll say he's gay, but he's okay. Like, because he hates other people so much that he's okay even though he's gay and we're supposed to hate him. So look, I just want to give you the last couple of quotes here that I thought were really instructive from what Kevin Wilshaw said. He said, I didn't have many friends at school. I wanted to be a member of a group of people that had a name. And I thought getting involved in that kind of thing would be comradeship. And so this is exactly what I tell you about whether it's Islamic terrorists or mass shooters in America or people who join hate groups. They're just looking for some sort of purpose in life. And they're usually losers. And I'm not the one to pick on the guy who's lonely at school, absolutely not, or to help, etc. But they're filled with this rage inside, and they're like, oh look, these other guys are full of rage too, but at least I fit in here, right?
It's a sense of community. It's the same type of gang mentality that we all learn about when we're younger, right? The reason why a lot of people join gangs is because they feel like, okay, this is a sense of family, this is a sense of community that their life might be lacking. And that's the sense that I got from him. And he wanted that sense of community so badly that he was willing to, really hide his identity and live the way that he lived for so long. I mean, he's an older guy and he had to hide his sexual orientation because of all this. And look, I don't know whether or not I want to shun him and criticize him, or if I want to be a little more open-minded, because at least he did have a change of heart. I know it was later in life, but it is maddening that it isn't until they experience hatred themselves that they wake up and realize, oh, maybe my behavior is unacceptable.
Maybe I'm a bad guy here, but I'm finding it really hard to empathize with this
hear
guy.
you, I hear you.
He also, by the way, committed acts of violence, and he admits that. So when he was beating up on other people, well, that was hunky-dory, and it was so cool to be a neo-Nazi. Oh my God, you don't like me because of who I am? Oh, well then I'm gonna leave the group after decades of this. Look, last two quotes. He said, even though you end up being a group of people that through their own extreme views are cut off from society, you do have a sense of comradeship in that you're a member of a group that's being attacked by other people. So I think that phenomenon can't be underestimated. There's so many people who feel like, even though, hey, I'm part of the alt-right, and it seems like the rest of society doesn't think that racism is awesome and that women should have equal rights or whatever, right? But at least I'm part of this group, and everybody else is attacking us. That means we must be right. Rush Limbaugh says that all the time. So many people attack me, I must be right. It's like a weird, perverse thing, but they get at least unity out of that, and they feel like we're dirtbags together, okay?
Yeah.
And in fact, the last quote from him is fascinating. He said, I'm going to find it difficult, granted, to fill a void that has occupied my life since childhood. So even though he knows that the neo-Nazis hate him for being gay and for being Jewish,
he's gonna miss being part of the community. Yeah.
He's gonna miss being a Nazi. It's amazing.
I don't know if he's gonna miss being a Nazi, but he's going to miss that sense of community. And so that's the reason why I'm having a hard time, being 100% negative toward him, because at this stage in his life, after he's victimized people and he's probably hated by pretty much everyone, it is difficult to shun the one group that did accept you, right?
Until they decided to hate you as well.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
So
look, yeah, please be a better person than me and be accepting of people who see the right way. But man, I'm finding it hard. So reap what you sow. I mean, I'm not going to shed any tears for you because you miss your neo-Nazi buddies.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, if you're in a group that's attacking your identity, get out. Get out right now. Don't come crying 20 years later. Help us build independent media. Become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.